Hi. So you're going to be using Reaper. Whether or not this is your first time using a DAW or this is your transition period from Audacity, there's going to be a few things that I want to cover in terms of file management and project file management. And a better place to start, really, besides Reaper, is Audacity, as an example. So if we were to look at Audacity's way of dealing with project files, they save it all as one file with the extension of AUP3. If you can't see file extensions, you can click View and then click the checkbox for file name extensions. So this AUP3 file, if I open it, it is the file that Audacity will read that introduces the audio clip in question, all the cuts, the pan and fader positions, as well as any effects that I have on the track or within the project. It saves all that information. It also saves the audio clip, like I mentioned, inside of itself, but I have no direct access to it. That's the reason why whenever you click File and you click Save Project, it actually gives you a little warning that you need to export the audio first if you want access to it. That is a little bit of a double-edged sword. It could be useful because that's what keeps Audacity super simplistic. So if you're working with another audio engineer or another person on a project, you just send the AUP3 file to them and they have everything they need. Hence the size of this being 6.37 megabytes. This is the size of the full project, including the audio files. Now let's look at Reaper's files when it saves a project. Let's use this as an example. You'll see that it saves a RPP file, which is the Reaper project file, but it's super small, 80 kilobytes. This is really, really small. So if I were to open up this project under normal conditions, it's going to reference the files, have all the changes I did, all that stuff. That's just the instructions the DAW needs. But if I delete any of the stuff it needs references to, such as the audio files folder, watch what happens. If I delete it, all of my clips go offline. And what can happen is if I boot up the same project, it's not going to be happy. It's going to be saying, oh no, I can't find the files. So that's why when you're moving Reaper projects, let's say you've already made this mistake, right? And you're wondering, how do I fix this? How come it's asking me that it's saying it can't find the files in the project? You may have just shared the RPP file. You must share the file folder that the project is within. So this whole folder will contain, let's undo that delete, that audio files folder. If you've been working on the project for a while, it may contain a backups folder, and then the RPP file in question. And it'll typically be the same name as that folder that it's saved within. So now over here in this dialog window, let's say you're at this step and you've tried to fix whatever has happened. And now, you or the person you're working with now has those files. How can they tell Reaper where to find them? I can click Browse for File and find each one individually, or I can click Search. And Search is going to, you have to navigate to it, but I can go and find the folder where I want Reaper to search for all of the files. And I can click OK. And then from here, I'm back to square one. The instructions were clear. The instructions were able to work around the parameters of its audio clips are supposed to be in the audio files folder. It was able to find it, and then it found all the clips it required and placed them where it needs to be. So that is that's projects. That's the project file folder. That's how you fix this referencing issue. And now I'd like to cover how you can set up your Reaper in a way where this doesn't really happen. So it's out of habit. We're going to build those good habits. Well, what we can do is when we open Reaper for the first time, we can make it where it asks us for that dialog window and also this dialog window, the project settings, and then also where to save it. So I can ask it to prompt me. Simply going to File and then Project Settings. I can open up that project settings window and I can set the project sample rate. So now this is going to be the same sample rate as when you were setting up Reaper. So 48,000, good for film. It's the standard for audio for film. And then you're going to have 44,100, which is going to be used for, radio, mainly just audio. Just audio is going to be, this is more than enough. That's going to be the one setting I would change. And then under media, audio files is the default name. So that's something you're going to have to remember. And then I can also set, when I do a recording within Reaper, what file format it's going to be recorded as into bit depth. So I'd like to set that up too. Besides that, that's really the only changes I want universally among all my projects. So I can then click Save as Default Project Settings. And then finally, if I go Options and Preferences, and then I go to Project, these two checkboxes here, Prompt to Save on New Project and Open Properties on New Project, I would suggest you checkmark these. So now what will happen is, if I open Reaper for the first time to make a new project, I'm given this dialog window that asks me to save the file first. And this is how you do it correctly. This is our happy project. So if I'm a happy project, what'll happen is it's gonna ask me for all these settings, all that stuff. That's great. If I move my audio clips in, it's going to automatically save them in the project folder under audio files. So here's my happy project over here, audio files, and there's the references. So if I were to move the whole folder, I don't need to worry about anything missing. What about a sad project? What about a project where it went wrong? I'm gonna make a new project here. I'm not gonna save it. And I'm gonna just move my audio files in here. What happens? Well, nothing. Right now, this is basically like file limbo. So if I were to right click this and I go to source properties, it'll show that it's under my audio downloads folder, like my downloads folder. That's where it's finding the file. But if I were to go to the one where we were happy, source properties, just for the one file, you can see that it's actually referencing the project itself. It's referencing happy project. That's where the file is being grabbed from. So now if I were to save this in this state, Control S, I'm going to put sad project. You're going to see that an audio files folder was not created because the reference is still, as you can see here, it's just RPP. The references are actually still coming in from when you originally dragged and dropped it, and there was no location for it to copy to. So if I wanted to fix this, what will happen is if I drag and drop audio clips into Reaper, it creates a folder called peaks, which is the analysis files, RIA peaks. I just need to copy the peaks folder as well as the two audio files in question. Copy. And if you remember from last time, I mentioned the name of the audio files folder, like where they actually save, is important. So I never changed it. It's just audio files with a capital F and A. And I'm just going to drop that in here. So now if I delete these and I go into Reaper, you'll notice that my unhappy sad project has offline audio files because where they originally were is now disappeared and gone. But now if I close it and reopen it, it has its buddies right there under audio files. So it's not going to be sad anymore. It's going to be happy. It's going to have all the files it needs. Okay, so that is file management. I hope that that's going to be helpful for referencing because that could be one of the major issues with sharing a project, receiving a project. A lot of DAWs work this way, mainly because it's really, really awesome to have direct access to those audio clips, like right there. I can just, if I record a microphone right now, just as an example here, I don't need to export the clip. All I need to do is record as normal. Bada bing, bada boom. And then that mic clip will be labeled and dated, and it will fall under the audio files folder right here. I can drag and drop that back in there, and you can see exact same. So that's something that's really, again, double-edged sword. Audacity saves everything under one file, but then Reaper, you have access to all of them. All the audio clips are right there under audio files. Okay, so hopefully this is going to solve some of the issues for those who are wondering about maybe their file management or their project file management might not be the best. Hopefully these good practices will get you into the rhythm so that way you can avoid any mishap of missing reference files and the such.